Welcome back to P.S.C. TV. This is the Wake Up Call segment. I'm Avalon Williams. Joining us this morning from the P.T.S.C, we have Mr. Darrell Lamy. He's the chairman of the P.S.C, of the P.T.S.C section, and also Cara Vaughan. She's the secretary of the P.T.S.C section. Good morning. How are you guys?
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm
morning,
fine.
everyone.
Morning, everyone. And we are glad to be here this morning.
How was the journey?
It was nice. You know, the bus brought us here safely, thank God, as usual.
Oh, so you all came on the bus?
Of course.
Yeah,
yes.
and you know, school closed, so the highways are running smoothly.
Yeah, no traffic.
Yeah.
So it was nice. We reached here early, reached here on time.
I would like to take a bus ride one day, Darrell.
There's no problem.
Well, don't worry. We have the safe. Actually, we regarded as the safest mode of transport in the country of Trinidad and Tobago. So we feel proud of that.
That's good. You know, today we have a lot of, I know there's a lot going on within the section there at P.T.S.C. And the first one I wanted to touch on was the permanent pensionable approved structure, which is, yeah, I don't know if you want to touch a bit on that first.
All right. Well, the P.T.S.C will have been created under the Public Transport, well, it's Public Transport Service Corporation. That's what the P.T.S.C stands for. And it will have been governed by an act, the P.T.S.C Act. Trinidad and Tobago.
Right.
With much being said, they will have created a structure, a both fortnightly structure and a monthly paid structure, which is cabinet approved. What has happened during the years of the P.T.S.C, they will have had several, not retrenchments per se, but more or less like VSEPs were offered. So with the VSEPs being offered, I believe the last one being in 1995,
Right.
right? They will have now gone away more or less from the structured approved positions and they will have done something called board created positions. Now mind you, the structure that is the cabinet approved structure still is relevant today because that is what you pay pensions and salaries against, right? But what we have seen is that with these board created positions that the P.T.S.C continues to create and ignore these filling the vacancies on the structure, it has created a parallel structure within the P.T.S.C. And with doing that, what you will have had now is jobs that has no upward mobility.
Cara, you want to touch on some of the hiring and firing practices that they are conducting there at the P.T.S.C?
What P.T.S.C does not have per se is that a policy or procedures regarding hiring and firing practices. What we have noticed a couple of weeks ago that they typed up something and just handed it in. So it's not where they would consult us, it's not where they will call us and say, hey guys, we have a policy here, a drafted policy, and we want you all to review it. You know, let us know what you think. They don't have consultations with the unions as often as we'd like. So they would come up with these policies, they would say, and it will only come from a management side. And sometimes they do forget that we are the persons, the section, and by extension, the executives of the PSA are the ones who see about the workers in terms of terms and conditions of employment. So what they have now, and I think it's about 2 weeks ago, we saw that in a tribunal, something that they type up and they call it a policy regarding hiring and firing. But we told them that, you know, you never brought it to us. So the union, the section, and the executive have no idea about it. So they hire and fire as they see fit.
Okay.
In the collective agreement, it speaks about whenever a position is vacant or whenever they want to create a new position, they're supposed to consult with the union.
Right.
Almost all the time, they do not consult with us. So that is what leads them to just hiring and firing, as you rightly
So do you see any sort of victimization inside of their favoritism and stuff in P.T.S.C?
Yes, from time to time. From time to time. And only if, let's say, for instance, the members bring it to our attention, that's when we act on it.
Okay.
So in most cases, they don't. We just happen to find out by the way.
Okay. Darrell, so for instance, if you all have to attend like union meetings and stuff like that, would you get approval from your manager to attend?
Well,
or?
in the collective agreement is clear in reference to that, and even the IRA, Trinidad and Tobago, is clear in terms of workers, of employees who are within the union and what is their provisions provided for them in reference to dealing with union matters and having to attend any meetings regarding union and dealing with members' grievances and stuff. So it is clear, his outline is very clear. But to elaborate on Kara's point, in terms of the hiring and firing practices, it is very concerning to us in terms of how P.T.S.C does their hiring and firing. What we have observed recently is that P.T.S.C seems to hire and fire on the whims and fancy, or we could say based on emotions. I have been in P.T.S.C for the last 15 years, and we have gone through 10 HR managers.
10?
10 HR managers, which will have not even made 2 years in the organization. So, you know, and within those 10 HR managers, many of them will have now proceeded to the court to get redress. So we have a high litigations within the courts, and many of them that they lost, and the P.T.S.C is asked to pay, right? And when you really look at the scenario of those issues, it's because they didn't follow a proper grievance procedure in reaching to that decision of termination, right? And we have been having trying to have several discussions with P.T.S.C in terms of how they handle their business. Because at the end of the day, when these things go to the court and we lost as the P.T.S.C, as the entity lost, we have to pay the large sums of money, right? We will have recently played Mr. Jadon, and he was in the papers recently. He will have won a very hefty sum from the P.T.S.C
Mr.
again.
Ratiram as well.
And Mr. Rafi Ratiram. And the list goes on, right? And what we are saying, those same monies that they are taking to pay these individuals could have come back into the P.T.S.C coffers and be able to be given to buy parts for buses, to be able to fix infrastructure, see about the health and safety concerns that we have in the organization.
What are some of the health and safety issues you all are having?
Well, the infrastructure for one. The infrastructure is poor. We can even touch on Tobago. Tobago had some issues, and up to now, Tobago issues has not been addressed. What we'll have had in Tobago is that we will have had a discussion and an agreement from the organization and going forward that the workers will have worked half days, split shifts between 8 to 12 and 12 to 4 because they had some issues. We will have regarded to ask to get some particular certificates like the fire certificate, the electrical inspectorate certificate, tongue and country, right? Those up to the date, those things have never been provided. But again, what the P.T.S.C will have done is try intimidation tactics, right? They will have even done a letter and then put our names into it and saying that the union will have agreed to have the workers go back to the normal operational time of 8 to 4. And I'm saying these are the types of underneath and manipulative things that P.T.S.C tends to attempt ever so often. Right? It's sad, but that is the reality of what
happens. And all these allegations are coming from where? Management side come now?
Yeah, well, it starts from there. And I'm not here to say, well, it's management, union bashing management, because we're supposed to be able to work together.
Right.
But there is somewhere there's a breakdown in communication in reference to that. I don't want to say is that they view us as not being as important, right, in the organization, but at the end of the day, we are shareholders of we are part and parcel, and we are to be considered as shareholders, because there are two unions that functions at the P.T.S.C. There's the TU,
Transport and Industrial Workers Union.
Transport and Industrial Workers, and they also the PSA, and we are all one family, right? We work hand in hand for the betterment of the company and by extension Trinidad and Tobago.
Do you think there's lack of respect for the association now?
Definitely, there's lack of respect. By I telling you we have a high turnover of management and the litigations and things will give the imagery and that we have issues in terms of industrial relations issues. Because when you have that high turnover in management, and especially in HR, that is the department that deals with conflict resolution and deals with meeting and treating with the union, and there's that high turnover, it will clearly give a signal that there are a level of high industrial relation issues that are not being rectified.
Cara, what are your thoughts on the ongoing negotiations, though?
Well, it's frustrating to me. And the reason why I say that is because membership is coming to ask us what is going on in negotiations, what is going on, where have they reached. I have attended at least 3 negotiations, and nothing has been resolved. Not even something like, here's what, we thinking about this,
right,
or we thinking about that. So it's just like, to me, it's like a stop. So I'm quite disappointed in where we reach with negotiations. I hope that they speed up this process. And as you said on negotiations, with regards to P.T.S.C, we haven't even signed off on our 11 to 13 collective agreement as yet. We have been writing management, we have been giving them proposals. To date, we haven't signed off on it. What we have signed off on is the salaries. We haven't even signed off on the the allowances, the applicable allowances. So if this collective agreement is not signed off, that means we are stuck here. You understand? So after we sign off the 11 to 13, then we have to move on. So because they are not even consulting with us with regards to the collective agreement 11 to 13, we can't even move forward. And what I plan to do next week, as I told my chairman before, I'm going to write them again.
Right.
Because every JCC that we have, we mention it and nothing is being rectified, nothing is being discussed about it. So I'm very disappointed in the negotiations for this
Darrell, have you
period.
been attending the negotiations as well?
Yeah, I have attended several of the negotiations, and to me, I would say it's a talk shop. The union would have brought a lot of facts to the table in terms of the cost of living and the wages that workers are now receiving. And to me, it just resumed to a talk shop. No, on the CPO side, no one want to make a commitment in going forward and really having an effective, and a fruitful discussion in terms of going forward, and to really have a serious negotiation. It's just about the union putting out their information out there, the CPO receiving the information, but not really coming back with anything substantial and going forward.
I feel it's a stall tactic, yes.
I feel so.
Yeah.
Because
I feel that it's a stall tactic because, I mean, the CPO knows what she's doing, I hope and I believe.
Right.
And our president knows what he's doing, I know for a fact. So why can't we just sit, discuss, and let's move forward? But I think it's a stall tactic. There's something come up in 2020.
welcome back to PSA TV. This is the Wake Up Call segment. My name is Avalon Williams. We have Mr. Darrell Lamy. He's the chairman of the PSA P.T.S.C section, and also Carol Vaughan. She's the secretary of the PSA P.T.S.C section. So we had stopped at the CPO discussion there. Darrell, you just want to pick back up from that part there where we were discussing with the CPO? Whether you, I know I also asked about the negotiations. Right. Whether you were satisfied with how things are flowing right now.
Well, actually, I'm not. I'm not satisfied in how things are flowing. As Cara will have touched, currently in the P.T.S.C, we are enjoying, we are enjoying our 2013 salary, and however, our allowances that are applicable to the P.T.S.C, that's in 2010, right? So it is very disturbing in terms of the high cost of living. Gas will have gone up. Inflation is very high.
Yes.
Right? And we are asked to still produce and perform at 100%, and our salaries cannot meet many of our debts. So it's concerning.
I'm seeing, because we know we have persons online viewing as well, I'm seeing something from Sean Lucas, where she's talking about not promoting workers and they're only hiring managers. Is that happening there at the...
Yes. We have seen, like in Petrotrin and even TSCT, and even recently there have been an interview with the Petrotrin with what T&Tech, OWTU, with T&Tech, and they will have indicated that what is the information that is being put out there is that that there's overstaffing.
Right.
But at the P.T.S.C, it is top heavy. I could give you an example. On the monthly paid structure, we have to have one DGM. We have 6 DGMs currently in the organization, followed by at least 4 to 5 ADGMs, right? Then managers. So we have all of these management, and the organization still have a lot of issues, right? We have been saying, the 2 unions, TU and the P.S.C, have been indicating to the management that there are vacancies that need to be filled in the lower level, right, to have the functions operate at its highest efficiency. But that is not being considered. As I said before, with the hiring and firing practices, is that we have seen that they are actually creating jobs to fill in these high positions, right? And it's very sad is that what they are doing is that they are taking jobs even from the structure and creating contracted employment.
Right.
For example, we have an industrial relations officer that is on the permanent structure, and now they will have created a job called a senior HR officer that deals with industrial relations. But the job description and the job specs are identical or will correlate to what is on the permanent structure. So what they're actually doing, they are mimicking jobs that are on the permanent structure and creating contracted positions, right? And obviously the workers who will be permanent will not want to leave their permanent job because they have terminal benefits. A pension is something that we will have recently seen in the public domain, the parliamentarians lobbied for. So why will the workers at the P.T.S.C give up their terminal benefit for contract employment, right? So that is something that is also ongoing. There are other jobs that we are seeing that they are just creating jobs and are saying, and it's very concerning because these jobs breaks the morale of the workers, because there's no upward mobility, there's no growth, there's no promotional growth, because these jobs are very stagnant. The salaries are ones that they just create. There is no serious calculations or even discussions on how they arrive at these salaries for some of these jobs, right?
Correct. Seems as though promoting of workers is a big issue inside of P.T.S.C, because I'm also seeing Akira Joe commenting on that as well.
Well, it's just to elaborate on what Daryl was speaking about.
Yeah.
That is what they do. They create the jobs. So these board created positions that they created, it will block the upward mobility. So whereas usually, and most likely I believe this will be happening in the public service, is that you'll go from like a clerk 1 to a clerk 2 to a clerk 3 and then upward.
Right.
But what management tend to do at P.T.S.C is that they will create a position, align it to the clerk 3 position, have the same job spec, and they would block that flow. So everybody who's supposed to go up, no one would be able to go, right? They would also, they wouldn't have job descriptions that are not drafted. So what we have in P.T.S.C, most of the job descriptions are just drafts. There's nothing approved, right? So you will see people working and they will just have an idea of what they are doing. So when you ask them for a job description, they will just, something like they type up, what I said earlier. P.T.S.C have a tendency of just typing up these documents, not bringing it to the union, not bringing it to the association, stating, well, hey, this is what we want to do, let's have a meeting and let's discuss. They don't do that. So they do what they feel like doing. And they forget sometimes that we are the stakeholders of the organization
That's
as
true.
well. Yes.
I mean, to elaborate on that,
Yes,
we
Darryl.
also have where jobs are not even advertised. You will just see a manager appear, you will just see a worker appear.
And that should not be the
And that should not be based on the collective agreement, right? You're just seeing workers appearing, and then we wouldn't even know who they are until maybe like 2-3 weeks down the line you may be informed this is who this person is.
But that just
charge of
happened
that.
recently with the new DGM HR. And I'm saying it because you have been here for about 3 weeks, almost a month, and we just happened to be in a separate meeting and he walked past. And then he introduced himself as the DGM HR. So it's things like that, you know, it does get us a little upset.
So persons popping up with big positions
Yes.
and you all are not aware.
And being the DGM HR, the Deputy General Manager of HR, you're supposed to have that responsibility of meeting with the section, meeting with the executive, stating, well, here's what, I am now the DGM HR, let's see how we can move the organization forward. This is not happening here at P.T.S.C.
Wow, it's sad to hear that though, Darrell.
It's very unfortunate.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. What's going on?
Well, I hope
there.
some of these issues could kind of play up today, you know, because I'm sure they will see what's happening
Of
here.
course.
The fact that you're here at PSA TV is having us informed of what's happening there. Yeah. I know we're pressed on time as well, so I'm going to ask Darrell first for his closing comment.
Well, I want to give a shout out to the P.T.S.C family. Indeed, we work very hard at the P.T.S.C,
Yeah.
and we always try to meet the expectation of the public, right? And to really have the buses there available to move the country forward. It was unfortunate though that we had some unfortunate statements by our chairman who have indicated that to take alternative transportation on public holidays, and I hope that good sense will prevail on that statement, because at the end of the day, school is closed, there are holidays, they want to take the kids out. I mean,
That's nice.
we're looking at moving the country forward and being progressive at the end of the time.
Yes.
So making the statement of going back to maxis and taxis, we are the public transport, we are the safest mode of transport in Trinidad and Tobago, and we want to live up to that expectation, continue to live up to that expectation. So that's my closing.
Cara, have you ever drove a bus?
No. No, I haven't. I work under the marketing and communication department. I'm a customer service rep.
Right.
My closing statement, I want to say thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's an honor. We are very grateful for having us.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, a lot of passengers, and by extension the country, doesn't know what we are actually going through.
Yeah.
And they only know what it is management is saying. And I think we would be here a little more often.
Yes, because PSA have created this platform
course,
for
yeah.
everybody,
We would
not
be here
just
often.
labor, but you know, everybody can have a say and let us be informed of what's happening in the country.
I want to thank all the employees for watching, because I know we have a lot of employees here.
Yeah.
The bus drivers, you all continue to do an awesome job. All awesome, very, very awesome. Right? Thank you for having us.
Of course,
We are
it's my
grateful.
pleasure.
I'm now looking at the weather.
Yeah.
Everybody.
So the bus drivers must be careful on the road
Of course
today.
they are. Always, 100%.
So I want to thank you guys for coming here at PSA TV, giving us the info of what's happening at the P.T.S.C, and you're always welcome at any time.
Yeah,
Of
man.
course.
Thank you for that.
Yes,
Alright.
you're welcome.
Yeah.
So we're going to toss a short break and come right back.